Hey everyone, this is Shpan, and we're back with another bite-sized build video, and this time we're remaking the Barbarian class. As always, I try to keep the videos in this series short and sweet, and I try to focus on making the builds both strong and fun, but most importantly, capturing the fantasy of the class. But before we jump into it, if you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing to my channel or becoming a channel member through the link in the video description below. With that out of the way, let's get into my remake of the Barbarian class. When I think of the Barbarian class, I think of a pure martial, no magic build. An individual that's at peak physicality and capable of incredible strength in physical or athletic feats. A character that's focused on hitting things hard and being able to absorb blows from enemies. The Barbarian should be resilient, have high endurance, and be resistant against all sorts of natural ailments. Where a knight or warrior uses their expertise in heavy armor and shields to absorb the blows of their enemies, the Barbarian relies on a massive health pool to be able to endure a lot of damage, tanking arrows or spells while closing the distance and unleashing massive damage on their foes. The Barbarian should not need to rest often, healing their wounds slowly over time, and maximizing the damage of each hit to strike their enemies down in as few hits as possible, often only needing a single hit. After we combine a high jumping skill with the athleticism advantage, we'll have enough jumping height to perform awesome physical feats like jumping off the head of an enemy to strike another behind it. Yes, you did see that right. Let's head over to the character creation page. For our primary skills, we want to choose one and only one weapon skill in the first slot here. Choose whichever one you like, but for flavor, I'm going with axes. I want this character to be wielding a massive two-handed axe. Next up, we'll take dodging and critical strike. These are two bread and butter melee build options that we want to get as high as possible as quick as we can, so they're perfect choices for the primary slots. After that, we have some choices, but I'm going to lean into the athleticism and raw power of the barbarian and choose running, jumping, and climbing. My reasoning here is that I really want to lean into the physicality of the barbarian class fantasy, power, and capability of all physical feats. This class will still be really strong even though we're not making the most optimal major skill slot choices. You could swap out any one of these for swimming if you want your barbarian to be particularly good at it, but it tends to be less relevant than the three that I've chosen here, and it's a little bit more difficult to level up than these three. After that, we'll fill in the minor slots, and I'm actually going to break one of my character creation rules here and choose hand to hand. Hand to hand has some good uses because it's effective on any enemy in the game without needing to worry about the material of the weapons you have available. So hand to hand will act as our plan B in the very rare circumstances where we go up against an enemy that is immune to the material of our best axe. But it feels right to me that a barbarian is somewhat capable with hand to hand combat due to their raw strength, and it's not a huge deal to me to lose a single minor skill slot to lean more into the fantasy of a class. It's also nice in circumstances where an enemy annoys you and you just want to get some rage out of your system and beat them with your fists. For disadvantages, we're going to be taking all of the magic restrictions. So let's grab unable to use magic in the daylight and unable to use magic in darkness, as well as inability to regen spell points. The game considers these disadvantages really severe, and so you can see from the experience rate bar over here that we'll have a ton of space to work with when selecting our advantages later. After that, I'll be taking Forbidden from Armor Plate, as I feel it doesn't fit the Barbarian well to be in such restrictive and heavy armor. The Barbarian uses their raw physicality to maneuver around and needs armor that fits that style of combat. I think chain or leather are acceptable, but you might consider forbidding chain as well, depending on your interpretation of the class fantasy. I'll also be forbidding the Tower Shield for similar reasons. And finally, I'll be selecting Critical Weakness to Magic. This one is optional because you might find it adds a little bit of difficulty to your playthrough. I think it's a good fit because we're a strong and durable fighter, better than any monster at close range. We can absorb arrows easily with our huge health pool, and so a critical weakness to magic will thematically fit the barbarian's hatred of magic, but also provide some interesting challenge against specific enemies, making the playthrough more engaging and fun to navigate in my opinion. Now let's choose our advantages. The first one we have to grab is Adrenaline Rush. This is pretty cheap one to get, and it fits so perfectly into a barbarian. At about 13% life, will trigger a bonus to combat-related attributes. This one synergizes really well with having a large health pool, because 13% is actually pretty low before seeing any benefits from this advantage, and we want to make sure that it kicks in before we die. We don't want any spells or attacks taking us from, let's say, around 15% health to death, or we'll never be able to benefit from this advantage. So the larger the health pool, the more likely you are to be able to see the benefits of Adrenaline Rush. Next up, I'll grab Athleticism. It's also a perfect fit for a Barbarian and gives us an increase in our jump height and slower stamina usage when doing any physical activity like running, jumping, climbing, or swimming. Athleticism combined with a high jump skill will make us able to literally jump high enough to clear humanoid enemy heads and strike them while passing. It's a lot of fun. Next up, I'll be grabbing resistance to poison and to disease. I see barbarians as being at the peak of human physicality and body health. They should be able to resist natural ailments that might wear others down. For the same reasons, I grabbed Regenerate Health General for some constant healing wherever we go. And finally, let's choose expertise in whichever weapon you chose for your main weapon. For me, that was Axe, so I'll get that one. And we'll finish the character up by going as high as we can on the max HP per level meter over here. The Barbarian should have a huge health pool because we won't be relying on heavy armor or shields. We need the ability to absorb the enemy attacks and have enough life to push through and close the distance on ranged enemies like archers and spellcasters. I'll be grabbing the highest amount of max HP per level at 30, and like I mentioned earlier, this will really boost the effectiveness of our Adrenaline Rush advantage. Try to keep the experience penalty bar a little bit below average if you can, so you don't level too slowly. If you didn't take critical weakness to magic, then you might need to drop an advantage or two to make up for it. Now, let's speedrun through the 12 questions section. And that's my take on the Barbarian class. I'm actually a huge fan of Barbarians, and there are many different interpretations in fantasy. They're extremely fun to roleplay as, and also as a fan of martial builds, they're extremely fun to play. Let me know in the comments which class I should try remaking next, and thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.